Good morning, Sean, and thank you for being with us this morning. We know how busy you are, so we really appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to cover some tips on what to do about cash flow and planning for the future and for when businesses are open up. So I'm going to leave you to it now, and I will see you. You've got 10 minutes, so thank you very much.
Thank you, Anne. Good morning, viewers and listeners. My name is Sean Kavanagh. I run my own accountancy practice here in Keele, Castlemaine for the past 15 years. The local enterprise office through Anne Hannon has asked me to participate in this webinar. To use the well-worn phrase, we are living in very interesting times. COVID-19 has put the Irish economy into a self-induced coma, with the retail and hospitality industries taking the brunt. Small to medium businesses are the heartbeat of the Irish economy. They account for 99% of all enterprises and employ 70% of the total workforce. You are the real superstars of the Irish economy. We sincerely hope that the COVID crisis will turn out to be an opportunity for policymakers to properly encourage and support SMEs so they can flourish. I better come off my pulpit now and move on to my presentation. The presentation has been split in two. The first part will be to discuss the steps that businesses have taken since the lockdown started in order to preserve their livelihoods and that of their staff. The second part is to discuss what business owners can do now to plan financially for reopening. And the main thing there is the preparation, the working on and the preparation of a cash budget for 2020. My intention will be to avoid information overload. I am not going to bamboozle viewers and listeners with too much data, especially since you've spent the last 2 months firefighting. So, what's happened or what should have happened since March? The lockdown restrictions forced some retail and all hospitality businesses to close until later in the summer. Since the lockdown, businesses have had to sit down and examine their finances line by line. This examination has led to retail and hospitality businesses taking the following actions where applicable. Firstly, they either made staff temporarily redundant or placed staff on the temporary wage subsidy scheme, more of which we'll come to later on in the presentation. Businesses have undertaken negotiations with their landlords to defer rent payments due. Overall, the feedback has been positive here, with some negative exceptions, principally the likes of Bewley's and a few other cases. But overall, landlords have shown forbearance. Also, businesses have either suspended or reduced payment of their utility bills, rates, also reduced the amount of monies that they have paid to their suppliers. Basically, the aim was to conserve cash in their business. Also, where businesses have had loans and leases, the business owner has engaged with the banks to obtain payment breaks that the banks have offered. As you may have seen in the media as well lately, those payment breaks are extended now to September. But again, that's another temporary measure. But again, I would suspect that there is a more permanent arrangement with a lot of people's states that will have to be made. Also, since mid-March, Revenue have asked taxpayers to file their relevant VAT and payroll taxes, but they have given them the opportunity not to pay. That non-payment does not incur any penalty. So therefore, again, it is all about conserving working capital, conserving cash in the business. We've gone past the last 2 months. Retail and hospitality businesses know now that they can know now when they are likely to reopen. What is not fully known are the trading conditions that will be placed in them when they reopen. regarding social distancing and other health and safety issues that need to be dealt with. Businesses in the retail and the hospitality industry are now in the departure lounge, ready for the flight back to work. What can you do now to prepare financially? In simple terms, prepare a cash budget for the remainder of 2020 would be the priority. And what does this involve? Before anyone starts rolling their eyes and saying we're asked to do something that's normally given by their accountant to do, don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid of the jargon about cash budgets, cash flow projections, all that. A cash flow budget is an estimate of what you project your outgoings and income will be for the remainder in 2020. Sit down, do it and draft on using a page and an Excel sheet. Have your income on your one side and your expenses and outgoings on the other. When you're doing this exercise, I would urge that these key points be taken into account. With your income, if you're in the retail and the hospitality industry, you'll need to base your projection of income fairly conservatively. When you do open it up, there will be a downturn. There is a downturn. We're going through a downturn at the moment. So any projections will be down in 2019. Expect the worst and fingers crossed, hope for the best. When you're looking at your outgoings, keep in mind the following. The state has brought in the wages subsidy scheme. Subject to qualification, you will receive on average, 85% of the employee's net weekly wage back as a subsidy from the state. So in English, if your employee is normally getting 500 net per week for a full week's work, if they come back to you earning 500 euros or less, 85% of it would be paid back as a subsidy from the state. I would advise to sit down with your accountant to review the scheme, but a successful application to the scheme will go a long way to covering staff costs. The scheme is running up to the end of June, but it is widely speculated that the scheme will be extended. I cannot emphasize the fact about sitting down with your accountant. There is a lot of terms and conditions that follow the subsidy scheme, and it is vital that you're aware as much of it as possible, because there is different rates depending on people's average net wage, and we could be here all day discussing that, and I don't want to overload you with information. These next points that I'm raising here were announced there back on the 2nd of May by the state. The Minister for Finance announced that as part of supporting businesses, there is going to be a 3-month waiver of commercial rates for impacted businesses. Again, that is retail and hospitality. 3-month waiver, people might discuss, would be too short, but again, look, it is a start. They also announced a €10,000 restart grant for micro and small businesses based on a rates and waiver rebate from 2019. At the time of doing this presentation, the full details of that grant scheme have yet to be fleshed out. So all I'm saying there is just be mindful of it. And again, hopefully over the next few weeks, the full details of it will become available. Also, as part of your budgeting process, I would encourage you to look at the pricing of what you buy your goods and services at. Particularly if you're in retail and hospitality, you're buying a lot of stock, your utility costs, you're buying a lot of goods and services. So I would say sit down and have a look to see what savings can be made so that you're not overspending on that front. Again, on the 2nd of May, the government announced that the revenue will offer to affected businesses to warehouse their tax liabilities for a period of 12 months after recommencement of trading, during which time there will be no debt enforcement action taken by revenue and no interest charge accruing in respect of the warehouse debt. The warehouse scheme is welcome, but again, I would ask that you review the scheme details with your accountant to be fully aware of its conditions. but it is a help. It means that you don't have that, you can use the cash flow, and the debts then will be payable to the revenue in 2021. But I would urge caution in the use of it. I would talk to your accountant about the operation of it and how it does affect you. Again, with regard to retail and hospitality businesses, if your business requires upgrade works to comply with social distancing requirements, the costs related to these requirements could be financed using the microfinance loan facility, which has favorable repayment terms and interest terms. Also, the banks and credit unions have advised that their willingness to support their customers. So if you do need to spend a certain amount of money upgrading your premises, it would be wise to source the cash from those sources. My colleague Martin Ryan from Finance Pro will detail the current finance and lending support later in the webinar. Again, for businesses that have bank debts, I would encourage you to start engaging with your lenders to extend the payment break or restructure the debt as needs be. What you will require as a business is a manageable repayment for 2020, 2021, and possibly 2022. So when you are dealing with the banks, it's key to start engaging as early as possible. Once you have once you have on your piece of paper or on your Excel sheet, put in all the relevant information. It may be a tough exercise mentally, considering the doomsday and the bad news that we're all hearing, but knowledge is key in planning. This budget will be your roadmap for the rest of 2020. It will allow you to make decisions, which are key now for definitely for 2020. Final thoughts. Over the years, we've all, for people that have been in business for the last maybe 20 years, they've experienced one, if not two recessions, and this will be the third one. Irish SME owners have always proved to be innovative and are survivors. I would encourage the time that you do have in your hands now because of the lockdown to think about how you do your business. Are you doing profitable business, or can you be more profitable? I would engage with your accountant and other people as well, just to give you that kind of third eye view. The local enterprise office have supports on offer regarding mentoring and consultancy, which will help. And also, if you're planning to move your business online, they have trading voucher grants that will help you. So to finalize, look, Gunari and Boher live. I wish you all the very best. And I've left my details there. If anyone has any questions, please do not hesitate to contact me. Thank you for listening, and enjoy the rest of the webinar.
Thanks very much for that, Sean.